In the mid-1980s, rally cars became so powerful and so uncontrollable that spectators stood inches from machines producing over 500 horsepower on gravel roads. Within months, the world's most exciting motorsport category would be banned. This is the story of Group B and why it had to end. In 1982, the FIA changed the course of rallying with a single rule. Manufacturers could now enter a car into the top level of competition by building just 200 examples, no more, no less. Gone were the days of strict production minimums and heavy restrictions. The new Group B category offered almost total freedom in design and engineering. There were no real limits on turbocharging, no firm caps on power, and only the thinnest requirements for weight and safety. The intention was to spark innovation and attract new manufacturers, but the effect was something else entirely. With the bar set so low for homologation, teams saw an open invitation to experiment. The result was a technical arms race, each season pushing the boundaries further. The FIA's decision handed the keys to the engineers and told them to dream without restraint. The era of Group B had begun, and the world was about to witness what happens when the only rule is how fast you can go. Lancia, Audi, and Peugeot each unleashed a machine that seemed to rewrite the laws of physics. The Lancia Delta S4, a compact beast, paired a supercharger and a turbo in a twin-charged setup, delivering explosive power with no lag. Its featherweight frame, just under 1,000 kilograms, was propelled by more than 500 horsepower. The Audi Sport Quattro S1, all-wheel drive and bristling with wings, put down up to 600 horsepower. On loose gravel, it could launch from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in less than 3 seconds, quicker than most supercars on tarmac. Peugeot answered with the 205 T16, a mid-engine, turbocharged projectile, agile and violent, clawing for grip through all 4 wheels. Carbon Kevlar bodywork, minimal reinforcement, and engines tuned to the edge. The result was acceleration and speed that left even seasoned drivers breathless. These cars were not just fast, they were unpredictable, almost untamable, and their raw speed would soon collide with the reality of narrow roads and crowds pressed close enough to reach out and touch. The performance was spectacular, but control was slipping away. Spectators lined the rally stages in a way that defied belief. Packed shoulder to shoulder, they pressed against the very edge of narrow gravel roads, their toes just inches from the racing line. There were no fences, no barriers, only a thin rope here or there, easily ignored or stepped over. The cars, wild and unpredictable, hurtled past at full throttle, engines screaming, leaving barely enough space for their own width. Marshals tried to wave people back, but the crowd surged forward, drawn by the rush of air and the blur of color. Some fans reached out to touch the passing cars, risking their lives for a fleeting brush with speed. The human corridor became part of the spectacle, a living wall that shaped the course as much as the terrain itself. In this environment, the boundary between competition and catastrophe was measured not in meters, but in heartbeats. Every rally became a test of nerve, not just for the drivers, but for the crowd itself. Fans treated the danger as part of the thrill, pushing closer with every passing car. Marshals blew whistles and waved flags, their warnings lost in the roar of engines and the surge of adrenaline. Near misses blurred into routine, cars sliding sideways at full speed, missing outstretched hands and faces by fractions of a second. It was a spectacle where the line between awe and disaster grew thinner with each stage. One marshal's voice, strained and urgent over the radio, captured the mood. They said they don't move. They want to see how close it gets. The culture around Group B had normalized risk to the point where a brush with death was just another part of the show. In this atmosphere, catastrophe was not a question of if, but when. The line between spectacle and disaster vanished in a series of crashes that no one could ignore. On May 2nd, 1985, Atilio Betega lost control of his Lancia 037 during the Tour de Corse, striking a concrete wall at speed. The impact ruptured the fuel cell and a spray of gasoline ignited in seconds. Fire engulfed the cockpit before rescue crews could reach him. Less than a year later, Henry Toivonen and co-driver Sergio Cresto left the road in their Lancia Delta S4 on the same rally. The car tumbled into a ravine. Its composite fuel tank breached, unleashing a fireball that consumed everything inside. Both men died instantly, trapped in the inferno. In Portugal, a Ford RS200 plowed into a crowd, killing 3 spectators and injuring dozens more. These were not isolated tragedies. They were the direct result of machines that had outpaced the limits of safety, and the consequences were final. FIA acted with finality. In October 1986, the World Motorsport Council gathered and voted to erase Group B from the calendar for the 1987 season. There was no transition, no attempt to tame the cars or rewrite the rules, just an abrupt, categorical end. Manufacturers received letters halting all homologations. Lancia, Audi, and Peugeot were forced to redirect their efforts overnight, their radical machines now obsolete by decree. No new top class replaced Group B's unrestrained spirit. The era of unlimited power and freedom was over, closed by a single vote. For rallying, there would be no going back. Today, strict safety rules define every rally stage. Yet the myth of unrestrained speed endures. Group B was not outlawed because it failed. It was outlawed because it went too far.